Well, it's a good Saturday morning to the saints of God right here at www.theupliftlive.com. I'm Robert Ashley, and we welcome you to another edition of The Review here on a Sunday morning. And, of course, we're thanking God for everything. And also, get on the phone, tell Lottie, Dottie, and everybody that we're live on the air here on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, and, of course, on www.theupliftlive.com. Got a lot of great guests this morning, and we're going to talk about the issues that took place this past week. And that's why we call it The Review. And of course, if you'd like to join the conversation, we always have our phone lines open at 214-239-2898. And once again, it is an honor to be with you here on a Saturday morning. Once again, my name's Robert Ashley. For those who may have joined us for the first time, now, if you've ever been in Dallas, Texas, we've been here for the last 30 years or more. And we continue to thank God for giving us longevity when it comes down to broadcast news. And of course, formerly Heaven 97, 1040, but now God's doing a new thing. And this day and time, and be sure now to tell everybody, we do have a gospel radio station right here in Dallas, Texas. And once again, it's called www.theupliftlive. We want to uplift you in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And once again, every Saturday morning from about 10 until 11:30 or so, we talk about the issues of the day. And my goodness, we've had a lot of issues just this past week. Now, of course, we have some guests that's going to be joining us. Arthur Fleming, one of our regular panelists here, one of the top NAACP officials here in the state of Texas. We understand that Texas Governor Greg Abbott and the Attorney General Ken Paxton made some really big news this week. And Ken Paxton, who had been under investigation, some of the employees in the Attorney General's office sued him, and come up to find out yesterday, Channel 8 broke the story that the Attorney General, Ken Paxton, is going to have to come up with at least $3 million or more of the taxpayers' money here in the state of Texas, because he had been covering up stuff. And it's just incredible that people continue to elect him. But we're going to talk about that. And of course, Governor Greg Abbott also seemingly kind of rejected what some are calling the woke agenda this week. So maybe we can get into some of those issues there as well. Now, also the Reverend Melvin Brown, one of our pastors, a man of God here, a very distinguished biblical scholar, is going to join us today to give us a reflection on the situation involving Tyree Nichols. Now, many of you know that Tyree Nichols, the 29-year-old young brother who was beaten to death by Memphis police officers, was laid to rest just last week. But there's been some new developments in that particular case. Now, we understand that those officers who've been charged, we have additional officers possibly facing charges. And Reverend Brown is going to give us a spiritual context of that given situation. Reverend Brown, I don't know if you got some audio back there. You might want to check the audio or try to mute that audio, but we'll work it out as we continue to indeed move on. Now, also possibly joining us a little bit later on, let's see, the Mayor Pro Tem of the city of Dallas, Texas, possibly City Councilwoman Carole King Arnold. But this past week, as Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson was out of town, Councilwoman Carole King Arnold, who of course is the Mayor Pro Tem, just a heartbeat away from being the mayor, actually basically served as the mayor. She stood into the city council this week, and it was really interesting to see a black woman run that city council. And who knows, maybe that's going to be prophecy here. Is Dallas ready to elect a black mayor? Maybe they weren't ready for a black female mayor. When it comes down to a black mayor, a female black mayor, Arthur, I guess they weren't quite ready for a female police chief. We'll get to that in just a minute or two. Now, also, there's a chance civil rights activist Reggie Ruffin may get a chance to chime in with us this morning if we can get him through. Reggie says he's having difficulty trying to get on with us here, but we're going to see if we can work all that out. Also, possibly Cheryl Smith, the publisher of the Metro News, possibly will join us for this reported round table. But once again, we have with us today, the first Mr. Arthur Fleming is there, and also the Reverend Melvin Brown. And we're getting some feedback somewhere, but we'll see if we can work it out. But first of all, Arthur, how are you this morning? Arthur, thank you for joining us, man.
How you doing, Robert? It's good to be back on your show.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, it's an honor to have you here with us. Now, first of all, let's maybe get started on some of these issues. Now, we're celebrating Black History Month. We've got the Super Bowl that's coming up this particular weekend. And for the first time, 2 black quarterbacks. We have, of course, the brother from Philadelphia, the brother from Kansas City. Now, Arthur being with the NAACP. These first black that. Is that still considered to be a major milestone in the civil rights community?
with the two black, your pro football, the last 70 years, the quarterback position has become, the prize. And, going back to Marlon Briscoe at AFL, right? Played quarterback for them first and so forth and so on. Doug Williams, Big Harris, all them cats, Joe Gilliam. And so now, we've already had two black coaches coaching the Super Bowl. Now we got two black quarterbacks. So again, wow. It's progress, but we got to keep fighting.
Okay, because at one time I remember playing football. Some of us may have played football back in high school, and there was always this talk that the black man didn't have the intelligence to play the quarterback. That kind of racist mentality. Is that gone now? I mean, Dallas has a black quarterback. I mean, people may be mad with him for throwing all those interceptions that season, but
the football, the last three positions to be integrated were safety, middle linebacker, center, and quarterback. But now we have to go and integrate the ownership. The ownership is the issue right now. So. Of course, we're still battling for more coaches. We see how they're doing our black coaches right now. So we're going to see how that's going to work out. But we got to have some black owners next. Now, they're talking about expanding the league to Europe, putting 4 teams in Europe. So how's that going to go? They're going to give 4 European owners, or how's that going to be? So, again, if they start talking about expanding to Europe, and then bypassing black owners, that's going to be another problem.
Yes, indeed. Well, once again, if you're just now joining us, you're listening and watching at www.theupliftlive.com. It's a brand new 24-hour gospel radio station right here in Dallas, Texas. And each and every Saturday morning, we come on with the review. We review the issues of the day. Once again, we're still trying to get Reverend Melvin down. Audio is there. Maybe you got some gremlins in that system, Reverend, or the devil is. I want you all this morning or something of that sort. But we do have Mr. Arthur Fleming, one of our top NAACP officials, right here in the state of Texas. Now, Arthur, also, have you been keeping up with the governor? It seems like the criteria of the curriculum for 1619 and the whole talk of woke ideology, the governor seemingly openly rejected that. This past week, and some say Texas is not being as inclusive as it needs to be, but others are saying, wait a minute, are you trying to, just like down in Florida, where Ron DeSantis rejected a Black History program, but some are saying that they're putting in the queer agenda with the Black agenda. Is the queer agenda and the Black agenda, is it commensurate? Does it mesh? Or is that just a red herring to keep that kind of history out of our public school system?
Well, again, you got to understand that that's the cultural fight they want me and you to have. They want me and you to fight over gay versus whatever other kind of education, and that's not even the issue. That's not the issue. The issue is, but they want you to fight about. The issue is they don't want you to know about not only Black history, but they don't want you to know about their gay white history. They don't want you to know about what they did during slavery. They don't want you to know about none of that. There's never been a movie about their sexual history as it relates to slavery. Nobody's did that one. They'll show you all these other movies, but they won't show you that one. So what I'm saying is, we can't be distracted by that type of simplicity of thinking. They just want you to go fight about that. No, it's way bigger than that. What are you hiding? Why are you taking this road? It must be a reason. So instead of asking whether one versus the other, let's ask them, what are they hiding? What are you hiding?
Wow, that's a very interesting perspective. Once again, that, of course, civil rights activist Arthur Fleming, a former president of the Dallas chapter of the NAACP, very much involved with the state NAACP. And once again, we're still trying to work on, there's my good friend, the one and only Cheryl Smith, the Dean of Journalism, and also the publisher of a plethora of Black weekly newspapers. Good morning to you, my sister. How are you, Cheryl?
Good morning. I'm doing great. How's everybody?
How you doing?
Yes.
Man, we're blessed and highly favored. Now, some of the issues that we've been talking about. We were talking about Governor Greg Abbott Cheryl this week, who seemingly rejected the so-called woke agenda. And then we have this Attorney General, Ken Paxton. I don't know if y'all heard that news. It broke just yesterday on Channel 8. Ken Paxton, who some of the Attorney General employees had accused him of favoring some of his political favorites who have been donating big to his campaign. This guy's going to have to come up now with a $3 million settlement of taxpayers' money here in the state of Texas. I mean, any thoughts about Ken Paxton? What's going on here?
He should have been in jail a long time ago. The man, the man got felonies against him. Okay, the only reason not in jail now is because he ran again, so he went to go to jail. The man should be in jail. Okay.
No, you said the only reason is because he ran again, or is it because he's what?
He he was already in trouble, felony trouble.
What though?
He ran.
He's
Well,
white.
huh?
It's called like he is white.
Oh well, yeah. Well, what is white justice? You know, the white legal system. You're getting a piece of that.
You know, so that's what it all boils down to, because I don't care if it had been a black man running for office again, he'd still be in jail. And you look at the dual, we deal with that dual system so much that sometimes we just don't call it what it is, or we don't even recognize it. And you know, I'm sure the Memphis 5, which has gone to 6 and 7, 13, I think. I've talked to so many people about this, and I was in Puerto Rico for the past 11 days, and people were talking about it there. They were also talking about our governor, and they say some things, and I say our governor, oh gosh, because they kept saying your governor, but they said words and they grammatically incorrect, and I have teachers that would be looking at me sideways, but they say the message constantly is you ain't white.
Right.
You can't talk about what other people doing, just like our parents didn't want to hear what little Jamal was doing down the street, or what Aisha's mama lets her do. I ain't Aisha's mama. Not do that. So when we understand where we come from, who we are, and you know, but then I don't know that I want to do wrong just because somebody else is doing wrong. So I don't want to use that as a defense for anything. I'm not going to money launder and say white folks are doing it, so I should be able to get away with it because.
Indeed. Now, also, you know, when Attorney Lee Merritt was running for this office, Lee was one of few who would call Paxton out as somebody who seemingly was a criminal. As the Attorney General, but the Republicans supported that man.
Well, what do you expect? I mean, we as the media, we have to do a better job of calling out things and not expecting other people to do it. You know, like I'm looking at Shanquella because things have quieted down about Shanquella Robinson. And so, but you know what? Just like I did with Pookie, who I'm following up on his case now, the serial rapist, and we have to do it. And just like I did with Brittany Griner, you know, my column next week mentions Brittany Griner because I'm talking about the way Black women are treated and how we cannot treat one another. You know, everyone from Minister Farrakhan have talked about how Black women are treated in America, and but we, as the media, we didn't do Paxton. We could have provided justice for him on our pages and our platforms and elevated it even more to maybe we would get an outcry from folks.
All right. Well, once again, you're watching the review right here at www.theupliftlive.com. I'm Reverend Ashley, and we're with you each and every Saturday morning for this kind of reporters roundtable. And once again, with us today, the Dean of Journalism from Dallas, Smith, the publisher of a plethora of Black weekly newspapers here in Dallas and Fort Worth. Of course, very much on the national, international scene of the National Association of Black Journalists, and has been one who has basically held a lot of journalists accountable. Now, also with us today, former Dallas chapter NAACP president, now very much involved with the state and all across the area here, Mr. Arthur Fleming. And also, Reverend Melvin Brown is with us at this time. And first of all, let me see if I can say good morning to Reverend Brown. Reverend Brown, good morning, sir. Can you hear me? How are you?
Good morning, Reverend Dr. Ashley. Yes, I'm here. Thank
all
you.
right. Well, thank God that you're with us. And And I don't know what that little feedback is, but if you have any kind of speaker on or anything, just cut it off, because this new technology will pick you up. But Reverend Brown, as we look at the Tyre Nichols case, we're jumping all over because there's so many issues. As we look at the Tyre Nichols case, come to find out now that these guys reportedly turned off their body cameras as they beat this man to death. There's also a big allegation that one of these demon cops, if you will, who beat Tyre to death. Yeah, I'm calling him a demon. One of these demon cops may have taken a picture of Tyre and sent the picture somewhere. I first heard that from one of the internet bloggers, Ringgold TV, suggesting that one of the cops took a picture and sent it out to somebody. And maybe we can get Cheryl and Arthur to comment on that. But Reverend Brown, I wanted your perspective from a spiritual point of view. How do we not hate these police officers for what they did to Tyre? Because as Ben Crump said, the only thing consistent is that the victim is always black, whether it's a white cop, a Mexican cop, the victim is always black. But Reverend, keep us from hating these folks for killing Tyre like this.
Dr. Ashley, thank you. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir. And thank you so much.
Thank you, first of all, for having me, and to your other guests. I respect you for your years of investing and providing communication and information for us. And certainly the NAACP president, Arthur Fleming, thank you for being a part of this program. We're all together in terms of feeling and understanding in our mind what happened. The distinction I'd like to bring to the forefront is this is Black history, but when I think of Black history, I think oftentimes of history, in other words, something that happened in the past. What I'd like to present is heritage, because histories of the past, where we are today, as you very, very profoundly said, we need help from another source, and that only source is the Almighty God. Mm-hmm. God has imparted in us, in every human being, the knowledge of our Creator. That starts first. The second thing is He purposefully put diversity in the world. That was His plan. We struggle with diversity and we struggle with race and ethnic issues because we're different. God wants us to be different, but more than anything, He wants us to love one another. And when things like this happen, it's hard for us to close our eyes and to disregard the fact that a person of another color did this. But I would like to say for this program today, we celebrate heritage. We have a great heritage. And from my Bible understanding, we seemingly give regard more to slavery and civil rights. And I had this discussion with Dr. Ashley a couple of days ago. We have to understand that we were kings and queens first. Kings and queens first. So God made us the head. He did not make us the tail. We're not to come in after. We're not to be second class, or we're not to be mediocre in this society. So since we were kings and queens in Africa, and then our matriculation from Africa brought us here to the United States, I try not to call a person of another color white or black, because what's more important is the character of their skin. So what I'm saying to you today is that these are despicable things when a police officer takes advantage of an unarmed man and takes his life for any reason. It doesn't really matter what it is. But I pray today that with your leadership, Dr. Ashley, and with the people that are on your
Okay, that's Reverend Melvin Brown. Maybe we have lost it. Maybe we've lost that signal there. But coming back to Cheryl, some of your assessment of the new developments regarding all the police officers who were involved now in the Tyre Nichols case going to be investigated. We've had additional officers possibly facing charges. Some of your thoughts, Cheryl, about the updated information.
Well, there's still a lot more to come.
Yes.
There's still a lot more to come. And I was feeling where the pastor was going, and I was hoping that he would be able to talk more. There was a that I did before where I said, my first sentence said that Bishop T.D. Jakes was tap dancing on my last nerve. And that was because he was talking about forgiveness and redemption. And I was like, tell that person, instead of telling them to forgive them for not paying me back, tell them to pay me back. That. But it was all in respect and love for that. Before I go further, because I've had major discussions with members of Omega Psi Phi fraternity about the expelling of their former brothers now. And I just find that it is so easy for us to come hard on one another, and we don't come that hard on the others. Like, I'm going to get the other officers' names and information. I've heard a number of developments about who knows who, and that this was it gives you, as you could say it was a conspiracy, because they conspired together to hurt Mr. Nichols. And it's very frustrating to hear everything, but it's even more frustrating to see how easy we are to discard and just find. I've heard names referred to these.
All right, I'll tell you what, we lost Cheryl there. Cheryl is back. But I'll tell you what, y'all hold that thought, because I got to get ready to take a real quick break here. I got to take a break. And once again, for those of you around the country, right here in our Dallas-Fort Worth community, I'm Robert Ashley, and you're watching The Review. And of course, we're live here on an online gospel radio station, www.theupliftlive.com. And once again, we're talking about the issues of the day. This program is called The Review. We're going to pause for a quick break, and we'll be back with more right after this. All right, it seems like we're still live here, so we'll I guess we'll just keep on going here. Let's see. Once again, you're listening to The Review. I'm Robert Ashley. We thank you for being with us. Pausing quickly. More right after this.
All the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as one day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as one day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
866-968-4091. 866-968-4091. That's 866-968-4091.
He's not in the room, because I've been trying to
Do
get
you
him.
run a business and want to learn how you can get between $10,000 to $5 million in 60 seconds? We're Biz to Credit, a top-rated online financing provider to hundreds of thousands of America's business owners. If your business does at least $20,000 a year in gross sales, we can get you more money to run your business in as little as 72 hours. Our terms are simple, repayment plans are flexible, and based on your cash flow. Plus, the paperwork is minimal and the approval process is fast. So in the time you've listened to this commercial, you could have learned if you qualify to get up to $5 million in cash deposited to your business bank account in the next 2 to 3 days. Funding specialists are ready to take your call right now and get you the money you need fast. Call 800-757-9141. That's 800-757-9141. Again, 800-757-9141. Call now.
You were tuned in to one of the hottest gospel stations. Keep it locked on The Uplift.
Let me welcome you back to www.theupliftlive.com, a 24-hour gospel radio station right here in Dallas, Texas. And on Saturday morning, we have The Review, where we give you about an hour and a half worth of conversation on the issues of the week. Once again, my name's Robert Ashley, and we spent about 30 years or more covering news here in our Dallas-Fort Worth area. And of course, kind of semi-retired now, but God's keeping us busy in the vineyard. And this morning, we're talking here with a plethora of great people who are with us today. Cheryl Smith, the publisher of a plethora of newspapers, Black Weekly newspapers here, the Metro News, just a lot of great publications here. And of course, she's a professor, from what we understand, they're teaching at some of our colleges and universities in this community. And also may have a connection there with the Dallas Morning News. She is a legend in this community. Now, also with us today, the one and only Arthur Fleming, perhaps one of the most controversial leaders of the NAACP during my 30-year coverage of news here in our Dallas-Fort Worth community. I mean, they say when Arthur Fleming would walk, white folks would jump. They say, "Who is that coming up there?" That's Arthur Fleming. Also with us this morning, the one and only the Reverend Melvin Brown, considered to be a powerful, powerful scholar of the Word of God. And once again, we're just kind of looking at some of those issues. But Cheryl, before we took a break, you were talking about the Tyree Nichols situation and where the pastor was going, and that you said Bishop T.D. Jakes was tap dancing on your last nerve, trying to ask us to forgive these people.
No,
it's hard.
Not forgive them specifically. He was just talking about forgiveness overall. Not
okay.
Related to this situation, but I just, I'm just wondering: is the forgiveness, and this is for the pastor, is it over everybody, or do we tend to want to forgive? And I know you said you don't do white and black, but well, regardless of what we do, I don't call women B's and H's, but people do. And so I'm just dealing with that. And do we have a situation where we are more forgiving of the flaws or the transgressions of others than we do of ourselves? Do we demonize people of color more than white folks do?
Sure. Sure. Before Pastor
Yeah.
answer that, let me add this. For context, remember now what we're talking about. We're talking about a police system, okay? And it's always been like that. They're here to protect white people. That's what they're here to protect. And that's what and so they have certain rights within that context. These are some liberties they've been taken within the context of those rights. So again, it's a police system. Now, do we forgive the police system that was developed out of slavery? Do we forgive that? No. We got to change that. And so what I'm saying is that now I hate them brothers did that, but by them being black, I'm not gonna let the larger media shift it to but they were black thing. Blacks and beat up black people, folks. It's just the first time we've seen it on film, right? For the most part, they don't do it like that. But when you militarize the police, and you have units like that, military units like that set up within the community, going out to suppress the community, that's the issue. As far as forgiving them or not forgiving them, that's up to each individual as far as I'm concerned.
All right, now, Reverend Brown, coming back to you, Reverend Brown, on the forgiveness, how do we approach forgiveness? Because I've seen people who've had their family members murdered and they say, well, I forgive the killer and all that kind of thing. But for some of us, it's hard. It's hard, Reverend Brown.
I agree with you, Dr. Ashley. As Brother Fleming just stated, we can't disregard the fact that we have injustice as a part of our government and a part of this system. Think about the word forgive. There's two syllables there, for and give. When I think about the spiritual connotation of forgiving anybody, my son, my family, my friends, my enemy, I think about a proactive notion and idea that I have to go before. So we keep giving and oftentimes we give our lives away, we give our family away, we give our community away, but we have to be proactive, forgive ourselves first, and allow God to heal us so that we can forgive other people.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Okay. Anything else on the Tyree Nichols case before we move on to another issue?
Well,
Cheryl?
I think it's not so much about forgiveness of because we've had one of Justin Smith, no relation, has tried to explain what his situation was, one of the Memphis Five, and what he was doing and what he participated in and what he did not. But this is a process. I'm just saying overall, I just look at how when we do something, we come down really hard, but we don't come down hard on other folks. The same thing with praising. With praising, I know there was an organization that I gave like 4 of 16 pages to in my publication.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't see one post, and I'm going to blame it on Facebook that you didn't see it because they mess with our stuff anyway. But, you know, if it had been then, in contrast, the Dallas Morning News had like less than 50 words, a little blurb and a picture, and folks are sending out all over the place. So we get really excited when we're shown favor by other folks, but we don't show that same love when our own publications are showing you that love. And the same thing with criticism. I've heard these Memphis 5 called things that I didn't hear Jeffrey Dahmer called.
See?
Oh, well, I'll tell you, I'll call them all demons. I'm trying to be an equal opportunity
that disturbs me in a sense. It distresses me because I'm trying to get to a point where I think that you and the pastor are, and so I'm expecting for you to talk me through this so I don't call people demons.
Well, see, what I'm saying is we have to realize the actions were demonic. Now, the Bible says to be angry, but sin not. I can't say that when Tyree was laying on the ground and you gonna walk up and kick him with a police boot. I'm sorry if calling them a demon, because even the 4 white police officers that did Ronald Green down in Louisiana. You remember, y'all saw that videotape of what happened to Ronald Green in Louisiana? Those were police demons. When you get members of the media like we have today that literally lie to the American people, they're a bunch of demons. I mean, if I begin to compromise on the principles of righteousness, I'm a demon. So we've got to be held accountable, because if we don't be held accountable, people will literally try to get away with literally anything. And real quickly, Arthur, with the Omega Psi Phi and Cheryl, Reverend, suspending these guys and booting them out of the fraternity, what is that saying? Because, you know, that's another secret society, isn't it?
Well, let me say this. So, sure, here, these, these guys that did this particular act, okay, they were black. The reason that you have the old weed going on is because this is very unusual. Very unusual. We've taken pictures, because I posted them all over my page. Police beating, shooting, so on, so on. Normally, usually, for the most part, 90+% of the time, there's no black folks involved in it. So when we see this, where they're all black, it has a different kind of an effect. Simply because I know one of the things that I've always walked around and told people, well, black people, black police officers, they don't do that. I mean, that's been one of my things. Now I have to kind of moderate it. Most of the time, they don't do that. So what I'm just saying is that, for some context, this is unusual. I hate, my Greekdom brothers got carried away like that. As far as them getting suspended, that's just what their fraternity has decided to do.
Yes.
But again, hey, that's up to them. And as far as anybody forgiving them, that's up to each individual. I'm not going to judge them like that. I'm just going to see what they were thinking first of all, and then I'll judge them after I get through.
Well, and again, saying that, and I want to say I talked to a number of members of Omega Psi Phi, and in different ranking positions, and getting them. We talked about it because there are a number of publishers who are members, and we talked about, one person, Bobby Henry of the West Side Gazette in Fort Lauderdale, said, the behavior of these men was not consistent with the behavior of Omega men and where they are. So I understand that. But I told him, I said, I challenge Omega Psi Phi to have a larger discussion about brutality and the demonization of men and the treatment to one another. Because guess what? Some of the narratives had the cops saying that Tyree was not, and the word was not superhuman, but something like that. But then you had other people saying that that the cops, they were like animals and they were just like superhuman. It's just the way they tend to personify us, to project that image of us being beasts.
Right.
And so it would talking with the Omegas, I said, I understand how you feel, but I've seen so many times when Greek letter organizations I know what we're talking about sisterhood and love and brotherhood and Christianity and everything, but when something happens, I question the behavior. And I could have seen this being a larger discussion, town hall meetings around the country. They will call attention to other issues, because Robert and Arthur, you were saying, most of the times it doesn't happen, but guess what has happened? There have been too many times that Black officers have been there and did nothing when stuff was going on, and that just is detrimental and just is are just as much a part of the problem if you did not do anything, if you kept your mouth closed. And that's what has happened. In the instance of, and real quickly, I'll just say, in the instance of this situation, okay, you say, yes, your behavior, and we do have the right to expel. But let me tell you, looking at some other issues, bringing in some Omegas who are psychologists to talk about the psyche of all of this and talk about what happens with situations like this. But I say the same thing. This was an ideal time with Pookie, with the serial rapist, for members of Delta Sigma Theta to call together all women's groups and people and legislators who want to speak up, preachers and everyone, to talk about do some of the things that we would have done had Pookie been raping members of the LGBTQ community. They would have come out, and this would have been a time for a greater discussion about that. And finally, this show, Sorority Sisters. There was the show, and I mentioned it before to people. Sorority Sisters. The sororities got upset because they did not want sorority sisters acting in a way that was contrary to what the sororities are about. And so what did they do? They expelled them. And so if you're going to do that, I got to see a reaction and an action. And the action would have been to take on Hollywood, to take on the images of women being not just our sorority members. And that's sometimes what the church does. It only deals with their congregation, but not just talk about the images of our sorority sisters on those shows, but talk about the images of women, and because we're Black, especially Black women, on the screen. That would have been a larger discussion that would have elevated us to talk to some of the intellectuals in our organizations to deal with Violence Against Women Act. President Biden, long before this, it was an emphasis that he put a lot of attention to legislation in the Violence Against Women Act. Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson as well. And we just can't just have the reaction. We have to have an action after, and that's what I'd like to see from our organizations.
Yes, we'd like to get to one of our congresswomen, Congresswoman, who of course replaced Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson, Jasmine Crockett. She's having a town hall meeting starting at 10 o'clock this morning until 12 at the Redbird Mall Community Room this morning. Arthur, you were trying to say something real quick?
Yeah, it's where I know I got to go to an AK event. My sister Rosalind Kennedy, she's getting her 50-year pin, so that's why I'm looking like a Nation of Islam brother this morning.
Congratulations!
Good thing.
Yes.
We're coming up on a real quick break here, y'all. I know we got to take a break in about a minute or two, but once again, for those who are just now joining us, my name's Robert Ashley, and you're listening and watching The Review. We do this each and every Saturday morning, kind of a reporter's roundtable. And of course, with us at this time, our panelists, of course, Cheryl Smith, the publisher of the Metro News and many Black weekly newspapers right here in our Dallas-Fort Worth community. Maybe when we get back, she can run them all down. Also with us today, we have Arthur Fleming, a legendary leader with the NAACP, and one of our beloved ministers of the gospel of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, the one and only Melvin Brown. We're going to get ready to pause right now, y'all, for just a real quick break. And when we get back, let's continue talking about the issues of the day. We'll be back with more right after this.
How is your car payment treating you? What if I told you you could make a free phone call right now and reduce your car payment by as much as $83 a month? Look at your car payment closely. You could be paying as high as 20% interest. Rate Genius can help you reduce your car payments by reducing your interest rate to as low as 2.48% APR. We can refinance most existing car loans or leased cars, new or used, and save you money every month. Put more money back in your pocket. The call is free to find out how low we can lower your car payment. 5 minutes of your time right now could save you hundreds of dollars a year. Call Rate Genius now.
800-811-8451. 800-811-8451. 800-811-8451. That's 800-811-8451.
Not all applicants qualify for loan savings. Actual offer terms, including APR, are determined at the time of your application based on creditworthiness, value of the vehicle, loan term, and other factors.
Do you have Medicare and do you use a CPAP machine? This is a national healthcare alert regarding your CPAP supplies. Using a clean CPAP mask and clean supplies is important to staying healthy. The best way to make sure your CPAP equipment is clean is to get new supplies. If you have Medicare, we have great news. Medicare will pay for you to have new clean supplies every 90 days. We'll even do all the paperwork for you to make sure that there's little to no out-of-pocket cost to you. And you don't even have to leave your home. We provide free in-home delivery. So if you're a CPAP user and you have Medicare, staying healthy with new CPAP equipment is easy. Just make this free phone call right now to get started.
Sponsored by Specialty Medical. 800-262-0318. 800-262-0318. 800-262-0318. That's 800-262-0318.
I'd like to welcome you back to www.theupliftlive.com. And of course, go to Google Play or the App Store and look for Uplift It Now. That's our app. You can download it on your phone and take the uplift with you 24 hours a day when you need to be uplifted in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Once again, I'm Robert Ashley, and we thank you for being with us. Of course, longtime journalist here in our Dallas-Fort Worth area. And we're just talking about the issues of the day. And on Saturday mornings, we do what we call the review. And we're just reviewing some of the issues of the day. Now, also with us today, once and only, the Dean of Journalism, Cheryl Smith, is here. We have the Reverend Melvin Brown, one of our beloved pastors, with us at this time. And also joining us, Reggie Ruffin, a civil rights leader with the Just Cause Coalition. Now, I think Arthur may have had to leave us because he had some other obligations here. Now, also, one other positive thing that happened this morning, and Reggie, you may want to chime in on some of those other issues, but I want to look at this. Did y'all hear about this 9-year-old black boy by the name of David Belongan, who graduated from high school at the age of 9 years old? And once again, his name is David Belongan, and he received a diploma from the Reach Cyber Charter School in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, at 9 years old. And he says he wants to be an astrophysicist. So, Reverend Brown, as we see our young people to be young, gifted, and black, that's something that's still happening, but we don't hear very much about it.
We're not hearing enough about it. You're right, Dr. Ashley. And my years of experience growing up in the church as a young man, my training and my empowerment came from my family in God. There's a lot of good things that are going on, and there's a lot of young people that are doing well. And the word that I want to focus on today is empowerment. We need to see ourselves as successful people. We need to take all the energy and all the whatever we have to go forward and know that we are valuable, that we make a difference in this world. And I applaud the young man of 9 years old and all the other young people that are doing a great job.
Beautiful, beautiful. And once again, I get Cheryl's reaction real quick to the 9-year-old, and then we're going to come back to you and give you a chance to chime in on some of these other issues. But Cheryl, a 9-year-old graduating from high school, wanting to be an astrophysicist? A young African American?
That's, and I congratulate him and his parents and his village. I do have a concern on a number of fronts about this, however, and I think that we need to wrap our arms around him and his family. And something not happen. We do not see this happen with professional athletes when they graduate at a younger age and go straight to professional sports with millions of dollars and no growth in that area, when some of them have their moms are not that much older than they are.
Yes.
Say that we really, at 9 years old, he needs to have people around him. And I'll just tell you that I participated with Delta Sigma Theta with a program called I Have a Dream.
Mhm.
And this was back in the 80s. And we were given, the program was, if you work with these young brothers and sisters in 6th grade through 12th grade, when they graduate, they would have money for college. And so we took on college school. And I had 3 young men, and one of them was graduated from 6th grade, and he was 14. And I said, oh, we're going to have some problems. We're going to have some problems just think about it. His neighborhood, what was happening with his family and surroundings. And he would graduate from high school, if he graduated, at 20. I looked at where he had home to go get to school, and he's mature in some ways, but mentally and in other, and the people who were needed to nurture him. Young brother is going to need someone who nurtures him through, because he's going to be in rooms where he is the minority in 2 ways. Minority in his who he is as a Black man in America, and also in his age, and who can he communicate with. He's going to have to have someone who helps him through very developmental stages in life, and they cannot just tap into him for his brain.
Mm-hmm. All right, and Reggie, just to chime in wherever you want to, man. We've been talking about a little bit of everything this morning. God bless you. Good morning, Reggie.
And Doc, hello there, Cheryl. How you doing?
Hey, good to see you. Good to see you. Doing well, thank you.
The Reverend Melvin Brown.
Hey, I was just about to say good morning to him as well. It's been an interesting week, to say the least, and I saw some other things last night on Fox Black News. They was talking about how Jackson, Mississippi is supposed to have some new form of government. They're going to have some judges, some non-elected judges is going to be handling some of the legal proceedings.
For whites only. It'll be for whites only, Reggie.
Yeah. How about that? But we progress and then we digress. And just like now they want to go in for the kill, because Jackson just done turned into a wasteland as far as the city limits, because all the money that moved out of the city of Jackson and is all out in the suburbs. And Jackson just it's just like a ghost town now. They dealing with urban blight, decay. They had problems with the roads, and then least of all, the water.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a lot of apathy going on that.
In Jackson, Mississippi, a lot of the people in the Black community are calling it that the whites in Mississippi, in that Jackson area, they want to set up a whole nother system for whites and whites only. They're saying they're proposing some sort of an apartheid system in Mississippi. I don't know whether to laugh at this or to wonder what's going on with this. But then again, the kind of racial turpitude that we've been seeing in this country,
it doesn't shock you.
If the Russians and the Chinese decide to come on over here and invade us, since they've been flying all kinds of spy balloons over us, we would not be united to be able to repel a Russian or a Chinese invasion, because we're fighting among ourselves. But I guess that's one of the planks in the Communist Manifesto, that I guess in the African American community, we don't talk about geopolitics and how it affects us in our own communities. But kind of a strange situation there, Reggie, that they want to set up an apartheid system in Mississippi. But is that because white folks are feeling that when blacks are in control, they're anti-white, or what?
Well, Mississippi is one of the few states in the union that's almost like 50-50 when it comes to black and white population. There's a lot of parts of Mississippi that is predominantly black, just like there's a lot of parts of Mississippi that's predominantly white. So it's already like apartheid in a lot of ways. And then, of course, we have the haves versus the have-nots. There's no more middle class in American economics now. So we're in the free fall, and how this thing ends up, only God knows, because that was one of the things that I was talking about with city council, Wednesday was this dystopian type of politics that they're using, where they're basically being selective about who gets civil rights, who has them, and who doesn't. And I let Mayor well, she was Carolyn King was the mayor Wednesday. She might have to abdicate her position whenever the actual mayor gets back. But yeah, it was a nice little show they had down there. And then, like I told him, I said, we're not going to make this us against them. And the only thing worse than white supremacy is black supremacy. Wow. And that's basically what we're getting a lot of here in Dallas and quite a few other places. Just like the little ish going on in Memphis. I mean, you got, people acting like they're appalled that black cops beat up and killed black people. Somebody just woke up, I suppose, because that's been going on. And they're gonna try to make a foundation on this one, because now Demetrius Haley is now the black version of Derek Chauvin or Stacey Coon. When this thing is over with, there's gonna be some cops going to prison. There might be a few cops on death row, which might be some, because this is getting uglier by the minute. And the way they pulling back the layers, they already talking about going back, checking every case that they've done over the years.
But they did not do Derek Chauvin. They did not do that with Derek Chauvin and all the other places. It's just this rush to, we're gonna do everything right comes when it's look like you and I. So we're getting brutalized twice. And then we come in and brutalize and jump on that bandwagon also. We have so many. We have to understand who the enemy is. And this is a discussion that we had with the black publishers. When I go different places, I went to Birmingham talking to a person running for office. I asked the sister, are you advertising with the Birmingham Times? I don't benefit from that, but I have to raise a level of sensitivity that we support our own, that we need to be a part of the solution. You talk about Mississippi, and the numbers are not quite half and half, but I will tell you this, the difference comes at the polls when you look at the disparity in voting in Mississippi, because Mississippi, there's no reason
exactly
for black elected officials at higher levels, than there are. What is it, Mike Espy?
Right. Mike Espy was a congressman.
Right.
Called, and you look at the folks that we do have in position. We need to be getting ready. We don't need to be sitting down on the 2024 election. We do not need to be sitting down on the 2030 census, because we're in trouble. We lost seats in Congress mainly because you tie it back to the census. You go back to the census and you look at how that was handled. We know there was an undercount. And so what it took us down the road of this gerrymandering of districts, and we end up losing key black folks in Congress in Florida and New York. And it's just constantly, we don't realize what it means to vote. When I talk to somebody, and we Robert, this is why you are so important this Saturday morning. You're important every other day too, but this Saturday morning, because a lot of the voices that could be heard are not being heard because they have been stifled, especially with us. But we need to tell people. The person asked me for help, and I said, well, they asked me, I asked them, are they voting? They said no. And I said, why not? They said, because I don't want to. And I said, so let me break it down for you. When your butt got stopped and got taken down to loose steering, I called an elected official who I voted for to get help. You need to, but we have to break it down and tell them, hey, these elected officials are vote for you. So happy with those food stamps that you think are an inheritance. You need to know that they're going to vote against it. We have to break it down to people to help them to understand and get their butts to the polls. And we need to celebrate, and we have to do more. And that's why, Robert, I don't see retiring, and I don't see, in the media, don't get to retire, because you have too much information that you have to keep putting it out and hope to enlighten folks. We have to do something about America.
And by the way, another story that I don't think we mentioned, and once again, take for example the State of the Union address this week, where President Biden addressed the nation, and Tyree's mother and stepfather was there. And you know what President Biden acknowledged? He said, well, he did not have to have that talk with his children about being stopped by the cops. So that white privilege, the president recognizes that, but yet it seems like that George Floyd reform bill is not going to get anywhere because of that qualified immunity that's tied to it.
Yeah, and there's
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's another thing they was talking about last night. The black guy that got killed in Grand Rapids by the cop. The cop had him on the ground, had him in a rear chokehold, and then pulled his gun out and shot him in the back of the head. Now he's trying to get the case dismissed because he's considering qualified immunity. That is one of the things they have always hid behind that has gotten them off on so many things in the past. But to just kill somebody like that at point blank range. Go ahead, Cheryl. What you gonna say?
And they say their life feels threatened. They're just things that are done that when it's done to us is expected. We're supposed to accept that. You're seeing is superhuman, and the sister Donald's, this cop tased her head. He punched her and several times, and I'm just like, where the outrage, where the mothers for and mothers against, and all of these people speaking out about the issues. And at that State of the Union address, I really wish I could have been there and I've been in those chambers before during the State of the Union address to hear the people who were being disrespectful and yelling out, who are members of Congress and Senate, and then Tyre Nichols' mom was saying something, and she was gesturing out over him, and I wanted to hear what she was saying. And maybe you thought of it, maybe you haven't, but and I think back here, I don't know, to their computer.
Yeah, I think your audio is kind of chopping up there a little bit, but once again, for those of you just now.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, those who are just now joining us, you're watching www.theupliftlive.com. We're in Dallas, Texas, home of the Dallas Cowboys, and now home of the one and only Kyrie Irving, who is with the Dallas Mavericks. And y'all know Kyrie came here with a lot of controversy. And of course, I think Reverend Melvin Brown is still with us, but we were getting some feedback out of his connection there. And once again, I'm Reverend Ashley. You're watching The Review. We're with you each and every Saturday morning where we review the issues of the day. Now, y'all, moving on before we run out of time. Let's see, starting with you, Reggie, is Kyrie Irving, is he going to make it in Dallas, Texas, or will the media run him out of here? Or can him and Luka come together with a championship, because Jason Kidd's the man and they've won 2 games in a row? But Kyrie Irving here, and many members of the Jewish community have said, we accept him, we accept the apology, but will the media leave him alone?
Well, we all know that's just a only time will tell thing, because I think he's in a good situation here in Dallas, because Jason Kidd would know how to handle him and know how to keep him on the level, and you can't get a better owner than Mark Cuban, because Cuban's gonna make sure he has his back too. It's just that hopefully Kyrie won't start wussing out like Lamar Odom did when he came, because he talking about he just couldn't stand Dallas. He like he was in the country or something. That's what he said. He took it so personal that he got traded here, and he didn't even want to play for the Mavericks. I mean, a couple of them paychecks he getting there, I wouldn't care if I'm playing for the Alaska Snow Crabs. I'm going.
Now, let's get Reverend Brown back into Reverend Brown. Kyrie Irving is in Dallas. Will he make it, or he says he's not anti-Semitic. Negroes to Hebrews. We got some interesting cultural history, but I don't know. Truth crushes the ground, shall rise again. But see, it all centers around the 1619 controversy. People trying to have the gay agenda along with the black agenda. But can Kyrie Irving survive in Dallas, Texas? Reverend Brown, what's your answer?
I believe, yes, he can survive. In fact, he will succeed. Yes.
Beautiful. Now, Cheryl, some of your thoughts about Kyrie, Cheryl?
Well, first off, I think that the situation that happened was it was blown out of proportion, and it was like you take little bits and pieces and run with it, and it escalates into something. I'm gonna give a shout out to St. Marshall, and I'm going to say that there's an opportunity about the media. I'm going to ask, what are the people of Dallas going to do as well, and what will the Black media do, and will we be counter trying to balance out that negativity? And this is so important, and this is a perfect segue for me. What I want to say about April Ryan and attorney Ben Crump and Kyrie Irving. And I have to say that we don't realize that when certain people come after our people, stuff is going on we have no idea. April Ryan, after all this stuff that was going on with Donald Trump being very disrespectful to her at the White House during briefings, that sister had to have security. Because you got crazies out there. You have those January 6ers who were targeting her, and she had to have security. You have attorney Ben Crump, who he gets the folks who think they're right. That you get the Karens and their husbands, folks who are coming after him hard with the work that he does, and the miles he puts on, going and trying to help. And one thing we have to understand, back when I think it was the Ebola crisis hit and Reverend Jackson came to Dallas, folks were, why is Reverend Jackson here? He's just taking the cameras. Newsflash, when they show up, the cameras come. And it gets the attention and highlights situations. And I even wrote in one of my stories, he came because the family asked him to come, to call attention, because it would have been shuffled under the carpet. Folks like Kyrie, Ben, April Ryan, and others who are out there, they want to annihilate, because they figure if they annihilate the ones who are out there speaking, then you solve the problem, because everybody else is going to shut up. And I'm just saying, don't be a conspirator with those folks who are doing that. Don't conspire with them, and that way Kyrie Irving could be successful. We need to invite him to our community, and that's one thing that we don't do with our pros like that. We don't extend invitations to them because we assume they are too busy, or assume they won't be able to come, or we have to fight through the gatekeepers who can sometimes of serious detriment to us. So we have to do better.
All right, I with y'all. I got to pause another for one of these top of the hour breaks. And once again, you're watching at www.theupliftlive.com. I'm Robert Ashley. We are with you each and every Saturday morning from 10 Central Standard Time till about 11:30. We're here in Dallas, Texas. And once again, if you're looking for great gospel music, go to the App Store or just Google Play and get the Uplifted Now. That's our app. You can download it and have great gospel music and ministry going with you 24/7. We're going to pause for just a quick break, and we'll be back with more right after this.
Your source for your favorite gospel music. It's all right here on The Uplift.
Do you run a business and want to learn how you can get between $10,000 to $5 million in 60 seconds? We're Biz2Credit, a top-rated online financing provider to hundreds of thousands of America's business owners. If your business does at least $120,000 a year in gross sales, we can get you more money to run your business in as little as 72 hours. Our terms are simple, repayment plans are flexible, and based on your cash flow. Plus, the paperwork is minimal and the approval process is fast. So in the time you've listened to this commercial, you could have learned if you qualify to get up to $5 million in cash deposited to your business bank account in the next 2 to 3 days. Funding specialists are ready to take your call right now and get you the money you need fast. Call 800-757-9141. That's 800-757-9141. Again, 800-757-9141. Call now.
How is your car payment treating you? What if I told you you could make a free phone call right now and reduce your car payment by as much as $83 a month? Look at your car payment closely. You could be paying as high as 20% interest. Rate Genius can help you reduce your car payments by reducing your interest rate to as low as 2.48% APR. We can refinance most existing car loans or leased cars, new or used, and save you money every month. Put more money back in your pocket. The call is free to find out how low we can lower your car payment. 5 minutes of your time right now could save you hundreds of dollars a year. Call Rate Genius now.
800-811-8451. 800-811-8451. 800-811-8451. That's 800-811-8451.
Not all applicants qualify for a loan or rate savings. Actual offer terms, including APR, are determined at the time of your application based on creditworthiness, value of the vehicle, loan term, and other factors.
Your number one hit music gospel station. Preach right here on the Uplift.
Welcome to www.theupliftlive.com. I'm Robert Ashley, and we thank you once again for being with us here on a Saturday morning here in Dallas, Texas. And we want to welcome the NBA superstar Kyrie Irving, who was recently traded to the Dallas Mavericks. And of course, want to continue to thank all those other players who played with us for many, many years. And right now, you're listening and watching The Review. And The Review, we're live here on www.theuplift Live, an online gospel radio station originating out of Dallas, Texas. And each and every Saturday morning from 10 a.m. until about 11:30, we are here reviewing the issues of the day. Our special guest, of course, has been Cheryl Smith, the Dean of Journalism here in our Dallas-Fort Worth community, an educator, a publisher of a plethora of Black weekly newspapers. I've been on the scene for quite some time here. The Reverend Melvin Brown, considered to be a biblical scholar within our community, is also with us at this time. Of course, civil rights leader Reggie Ruffin, the founder of the Just Cause Coalition. And once again, we are honored to have all of you with us here this morning. Of course, our phone lines are always open now at 214-239-2898. Write it down, 214-239-2898. That's our number to call. And also, don't be surprised, y'all, if you get a Black FM gospel station in Dallas, Texas, don't tell nobody, but some folk are working to try to make it a reality. Now, before we get to some more issues here, Cheryl, tell everybody about your newspaper, where the people can pick up your publications, because you do such a great job keeping us abreast here in our community.
Well, thank you so much. And, you know, information is power. Our good friend, Mr. Dick Gregory, used to say that. And yes. I want to give a shout out to his wife last week, 64 years for them together, and Mrs. Lillian Gregory. And I tell you, I'm reinvigorated because I was in Puerto Rico, Black Press of America, and we recognized Dr. Ben Chavis of the Wilmington 10. And, you know, we had North Park group that was arrested here, but we did not spend almost a decade in prison as political prisoners did. But we have Texas Metro News, Garland Journal, and iMessenger. And if you go to www.Texas Metro News, you can sign on and get our daily newsletter that I don't know, do either of you get it? And sometimes you like to other people say what it has in it.
I get it on a daily basis, and that's how I keep up with what's going on here.
tell you about people from birth to death and beyond, and things going on, some things that don't get celebrated. I did an interview with Color of Change. It was a BET forum similar to this, and I told them that when COVID hit, I said I wanted 4 type of stories in our publications. I wanted all we could get on COVID and the pandemic. I wanted to address social justice issues and news of the day, and I wanted some feel good.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And real quick, let me interject a little bit here. Now, also another story that broke this week that we didn't hear very much about. Did y'all know that St. Thomas University in Miami has been named after the a gentleman who is considered to be the Attorney General of Black America, Benjamin Crump. Now, that particular law school is in the Miami, Florida area, and it has become the first law school to be named after a practicing attorney. Most jurisprudence officials there, when they get those type of accolades, they're either dead or something has happened to them. But Ben Crump, we certainly want to indeed acknowledge that. St. Thomas University of Miami names their law school for Benjamin Crump, a very distinguished official there in terms of law. Now, also, y'all, real quickly, I've got to get Reverend Brown into the conversation. I don't know if you saw the Grammys this past week, but some are saying that if you saw the Grammys and if you know anything about Satanism, if you know anything about the so-called demonic elements of the New World Order, you may have seen a ritualistic ceremony that some say may have been opening up demonic portals, allowing demonic spirits to come on in, even further come on into this phase of reality. But Reverend Brown, I don't know if you had a chance to see those Grammys. Did you see any of the Grammys?
Yes,
did anybody see them?
Yes, I did. And I agree with that, the statement that anytime we open up ourselves to something that's outside of the order of God, you know, demons and all types of adversity and conflict will come on the stage. And unfortunately, they're utilizing people that we revere in our own community. So it's a real thing. It's something we got to deal with. And my prayer is today on this broadcast that we come together as a people and not look back, but look forward, because the dream that Dr. Martin Luther King gave his life for is worth a new vision of new possibilities.
Wow. And Reggie, some of your reflections on Black History Month, or anything else that's on your mind there, Reggie? The Grammys, or just anything that's on your mind?
All right, be careful now. But anyway, I was going to talk about, you know, the Frito-Lay case. I'm supposed to be getting a response back from the State Bar Association in Jackson about the Frito-Lay case, because I'm going to be seeking civil damages and filing an attorney malpractice suit against the attorney that handled the case, because he sat there and dawdled around and allowed the case to get dismissed because he never served the defendant. And they're trying to come up with some other type of little caustic loophole where they can say they talking about the fact, since I filed a similar case here in Texas, that would keep me from going any further. But it wasn't just me that filed the suit. It was several other people involved in this thing. The attorney took the time to amend the petition, but he still left some things out in that petition. And then on top of that, he never served them. So how you gonna win a $100 million lawsuit if you never send the defendant notice so we can get a court date going?
He must have been trying to allow the statute of limitations to run out or something.
Nah, I mean, if you just want my, you know, without, you know, I mean, this is like, this is what I'm alleging. I'm alleging that he called Frito-Lay, told him about the lawsuit, drew everything up. They called him back, cut him a check. He put it in his pocket, and him bounced.
Wow.
Because that's likely what happened. Attorneys are known to do that from time to time, because they know this case can get hung up in court for years, because Frito-Lay got the money. They got the cash. They didn't do anything. I mean, they buy off judges and everybody. Because I wanted to file. I was thinking if we'd have had them served by September of last year, I could have been calling for a boycott of Frito-Lay, and that would have hurt them really bad during the football season. So I mean, so that was a strategy I was having. So, you know, when August coming around, I'm going like, okay, what's the problem? Why we ain't got nothing done? And he's just ignoring me. Or then one time he said F all that other stuff. You know, that's when you know you're dealing with scum that needs to be removed. So that's basically what I'm doing.
All right. Well, man, that's we've been following that, Reggie, for quite some time. And Cheryl, coming back to you, who's going to be the next mayor in Dallas, Texas, Cheryl?
The same one.
We got a big mayoral. We got a big city council election coming up. What is it, in May?
Is the election will be in May, and it's really interesting because it seems like with our mayor who was at the State of the Union address this past week,
Yes.
he put out the call. He's like, don't come this way, because he started putting out early who some of his major supporters were. And so it's going to be really interesting, some of the seats, the other seats, because you have folks who want to recapture the district that we call it the Diane Ragsdale district.
District 7.
And we and folks would like to see, you know, there are people who have term limits. So it's going to be real interesting to see just who is the next mayor, not just mayor, but the city council members. And there's some other people that we need to watch, because, you know, interestingly, I'm hearing about other positions that are going to be up, especially in 2024, that people are lining up. And I guess the thing for me, and folks talked about this in Puerto Rico, a lot of our elected officials are becoming or wanting to be celebrities now.
Ding, 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 ding. You got it.
And you know, they
that's ego.
Think I'm supposed to get in. You getting in, and let me tell you, the bad thing about it for them will be when they are no longer in office. Because if you act
right,
you at so-called top, when you get there, there are people who are elected officials. We never stop calling them mayor or senator or Congress or whatever, not just because that's the only way we knew them, but because we have that sort of reverence for them or whatever. But people are going to fade off into oblivion when they are no longer in office. And this goes for judges, you know, whatever. Folks are trying to be celebrities. Everybody wants to be liked on social media.
My goodness. Another issue
that my friend that's the whole kit and caboodle, because I've said that numerous times. We don't have any more political advocates for the constituents. We have political celebrities. I mean, just look at George Santos, for example. He pulled a Donald Trump move. Now everybody hating on him because he lies better than Trump. So you know, now he's out there. And he said, well, I'm not letting this seat go. I'm going to enjoy spending this money for the next 4 years at least.
I wanted to see him one time say, when they call for his vote, I want him to say Hakeem Jeffries, who interesting, the representative will be in town, and he's going to be at the swearing in for Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, and he's going to Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson, who really supported him. I wanted to throw a positive note to just say that Attorney Ben Crump is a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, and that is something good with Omegas. And then I also say, I want to throw something else good in there and say that someone who has provided a lot of financial support has been none other than Will Smith to the St. Thomas School. And so, you know, there are people doing things. We need to be able to call them out. I remember, and Robert, I'm sure you remember when Channel 5 did this very negative story about Michael Irvin. And then when Michael Irvin, he said, when you find out the truth, I want you to tell the story in the same fashion.
With the same intensity. Yeah.
The media, they never do.
And I want to point to Michael Irvin. You know, he just lost his spot, and you know, and I'm still taking a knee. You have to, I don't apologize for it, but I'm still taking a knee. And so I won't be sitting in front of a TV watching a football game tomorrow. But Michael Irvin was supposed to be doing some show, and some woman, you know, I'm just saying, I want to believe the victim, but I also know that there are liars in the world, and some of them are the people who say they've been assaulted. This say Carolyn Bryant. And without much information, I think sometimes there's a rush to judgment. But what's that guy, Brett Favre, is not locked up yet.
And this man allegedly stole half of Mississippi. But now Michael Irvin has also countered back. Michael went out yesterday and filed a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against $100 million. Yeah, against the employer and the young lady who made those particular allegations. Now, one other story that we were concerned about, and I'll take to them. Y'all heard about that story over at Carrollton? R.L. Turner where they had 2 of those 3 kids died as a result of somebody dealing fentanyl. They arrested 2 people who lived in the neighborhood right down the street from that high school. And it seemed these people were selling these kids fentanyl. Now, in the Black community, we are not hearing very much about overdose deaths or whether or not these pills and these drugs are having the same kind of effect. But what do we say regarding these drugs coming into? I mean, drugs have always been here. I mean, is this any different? Fentanyl, it's more of a killer drug, but there's always talk about the border being wide open, policies here, policies there. Is it now getting to the point it's killing people?
It's killing a lot of people. It is another pandemic, if you will. And President Biden mentioned fentanyl and his State of the Union address. He didn't go into it, but I will tell you, I'm working with other journalists, and I actually contacted Commissioner Price and had a meeting with Dr. Wong at Dallas County Health and Human Services to see what they were going to do about it. It is an issue, and it is something you can touch it and end up in the hospital. And
right.
A serious issue. And there are states across this country who are getting a lot of money to educate and inform people about fentanyl. And I was asking for Dallas County, what are you doing about it? Because see, one thing that happens if you just look at a pattern, Reggie, Robert, Pastor, when AIDS came out, they said gay white men, so we didn't do anything. Oh, we don't have to worry, gay white men. None of us on here are gay white men. They did the same thing with a number of other illnesses, and then get up to COVID, and they were saying, it wasn't us when it was actually us. And then monkeypox came, we were saying the same thing. And by the time we get a hold of it, it has devastated our communities. And we need to stop. We need, anytime something hits, we need to say, if we want to follow, we want to act white, that's the time when we need to act white. When they say something is hitting them, we need to get in there and find out what it's doing to us.
My goodness.
Well, that was the only reason why I took the vaccine, was because white people were dying. So when I saw white people dying, I said, yeah, this might be serious. I'm going to go ahead and go get some shots, because I wasn't thinking about COVID till that point.
Well, look, I'll tell you what, let me pause right now for just a quick break. And once again, our panel today, Cheryl Smith, Reggie Ruff, and of course, the Reverend Melvin Brown. We're going to pause right now for our quick final break, and we'll be back with more right after this. Let's see.
The big bad IRS comes knocking on your door. And when that happens, you need to call the good old boys at the Tax Doctor. Let them do what they do best. Deal and negotiate with the IRS so you pay the lowest you can in back taxes that the law allows. We are a 100% U.S.-based company, and we've saved our clients millions over the years in back taxes. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, call my friends right now at the Tax Doctor and learn more.
800-215-1727. 800-215-1727. 800-215-1727. That's 800-215-1727.
Do you have Medicare and do you use a CPAP machine? This is a national healthcare alert regarding your CPAP supplies. Using a clean CPAP mask and clean supplies is important to staying healthy. The best way to make sure your CPAP equipment is clean is to get new supplies. If you have Medicare, we have great news. Medicare will pay for you to have new clean supplies every 90 days. We'll even do all the paperwork for you to make sure that there's little to no out-of-pocket cost to you. And you don't even have to leave your home. We provide free in-home delivery. So if you're a CPAP user and you have Medicare, staying healthy with new CPAP equipment is easy. Just make this free phone call right now to get started.
Sponsored by Specialty Medical. 800-262-0318. 800-262-0318. 800-262-0318. That's 800-262-0318.
I'd like to welcome you back to www.theupliftlive.com. I'm Robert Ashley, and we thank you for being with us on this Saturday morning. And of course, we are honored to have you with us. Only have about a few more minutes to go. And once again, you're listening and watching The Review. The radio station is www.theupliftlive.com. You can check us out and hear us anywhere in the country. Take the word of God with you, because right now we're living in the times that are certainly trying men's souls. And once again, with us this morning, we have Cheryl Smith, Reggie Ruffin, and of course, the Reverend Melvin Brown. And group, before we leave, there was another story that we have been following here. This was out of California. California police reportedly shot and killed this double amputee. We understand that story has been kind of flying underneath the radar. His name was Anthony Lowe, 36 years old, supposedly had a butcher knife, had stabbed somebody. The police were called, and the next thing we know, he's running from them on nubs and shot and killed. Reggie, Cheryl, Reverend Brown, did y'all see that story?
Yeah, I caught a glimpse of it last night, and it just seems that black people end up in some of the damnedest predicaments with the police, and the police seem to not have a problem shooting everybody. In Indianapolis, that was outside his grandmother's house. He had drove from Florida, was trying to take a nap. He wanted to wake up in the middle of the night. She saw a car sitting out there. She called the police. Cops get there. He had a gun in his lap, and because he has a permit to carry a gun, but they just started shooting up his car. And much to my delight and surprise, he survived. He only got it goes. But that was one of the main things I was talking about Wednesday. When is it gonna? When are the police gonna start taking this stuff seriously? We're out here dying. Now they want to sit up here and talk about how the police want to get home and come back home one piece. That's what, damn it, so do I. I mean, I don't want to have to be looking over my shoulder everywhere I go. I mean, you walk down the streets, the cops start pulling over, messing with you. I mean, we're living with enough uncertainty as it is.
Yes. Now, before we run out, let me get Cheryl's thoughts. Cheryl, have you been following that story regarding Anthony Lowe and also Reverend Brown? Like I said, it's so much going on now.
Yes, but I'm even equally concerned about what it's doing to us, the trauma it's causing for us who are not involved. When you have folks say, I don't want to watch this, I don't want to watch the video, I don't want to see this. All of this taking its toll on folks. And I remember just one time a friend said something, this is a picture of my mom, and then they did a heavy sigh. I didn't know what that heavy sigh meant until I lost my mom. And that sigh, it's a feeling like nothing ever. And the feeling that I get every day waking up in America, I'm going to hear about some of us who have been brutalized, demonized, and it's traumatic for me.
Yes, indeed. And Reverend Brown, a real quick word. I don't know if you had seen that story, but Reverend, we want to pray for all those folk also over there in Turkey and Syria. Did you see that devastating earthquake where at last report, the death toll now has reached about, from what we understand, 21,000 people as a result of an earthquake there in Turkey and Syria. Reverend, some of your thoughts real quickly before we have to go.
My thoughts are we come to this point celebrating Black history, and we're watching things happening all over the world. And sometimes we view as God as being angry. We view as God as being uncaring and unloving. But it's only his unconditional love that spares what could happen that didn't happen. Mm-hmm. There's tragedies all over the world. And in our own community, what we must do, and I wanted to say to Dr. Cheryl Smith, I really appreciate you and the contribution you make to this community. And I'll close with this. I wanted to play just a short rendition of Lift Every Voice, which is our national anthem. But we must come in the spirit of unity. We must come together in the spirit of unity to combat evil with good.
All right. Well, Reverend Brown, you have your piano there. Go ahead and play that Lift Every Voice and sing. James Weldon Johnson. The legendary James Weldon Johnson. Once again, we're getting ready to leave the air, but every Saturday morning we're here from 10 a.m. to 11:30. It's been www.theupliftlive.com. Cheryl, Reggie, Reverend Brown, and of course, Arthur, we thank everybody. Go ahead, Reverend. Why don't you hit us with that? Let's see what you sound like. Right? All right, everybody. Well, once again, you've been listening to the review right here at www.upliftlive.com. That's been Robert Ashley. And look for us on social media. Because once again, www.upliftlive.com. We're with you each and every Saturday morning, starting at 10 a.m. until about 11:30. And once again, we want to thank all of our guests for spending time with us. Cheryl Smith. I also want to thank Arthur Fleming of the NAACP, Reggie Ruffin of the Just Cause Coalition, and of course, the biblical scholar there, the one and only, the Reverend Melvin Brown. Let's go. Let's see. Who is it? Philadelphia Eagles, Kansas City Chiefs. I don't care who wins the game. It's going to be a great game.
I really don't either.
Well, look, we also want to plead the blood of Jesus over the United States of America, because we're really concerned about the possibility of World War III. We're sending tanks over to Ukraine, and the Russians see that as if we're beginning to attack their given nation. But look, we plead the blood of Jesus. I'm Robert Ashley. We'll see you. I want you to have a blessed day. All right, thank you, everybody. Thank y'all.